Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie and I'm your host for today's show. Now, the wait is over and I can finally present my Premier League predictions, which I promised I'll do after the transfer window. So here we are. During the show, I'll review each Premier League squad and present where they will all finish at the end of the season. I'll also predict who will win individual awards and also make some bold statements, as you do. If you're watching live, feel free to share your comments and be part of the show. And before we start, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. So let's begin. So we'll analyze each team in alphabetical order. So the first team will be Arsenal and not AFC Bournemouth, as I've seen on some websites. So let's begin. So as you can see, I've got the starting 11 as well as sort of like the backup players or the second choice players below the first team players here. So as you can see, we've got Ramsdale and Raya as the goalkeepers. In terms of the back four, it's pretty strong. I know Timber is out currently with an injury, but from what I've heard, it's not a very long-term injury or not what was sort of expected. He should be back in a month or so, which is good news for Arsenal fans there. So in terms of the back four, you've got Zinchenko, Tierney, Gabriel, Timber, Saliba. You've got a young defender, Kiwior, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and Ben White and Tomiyasu. So solid back four there. You've got Tomiyasu who can play in different roles as well as Timber. So that's good squad rotation or squad players there that can adapt to different roles. Declan Rice and Partey, and then you've got El Neni and Jorginho. So the quality slightly dips if Declan Rice and Partey weren't to be available. Partey, especially as he's also known to have not the best of injury records. So still, I would say a relatively strong midfield there. And then you've got up top, you've got Martinelli on the left, Odegaard. Then you've got Saka, and you've got Reece Nelson as backup to Saka. You've got Kai Havertz, who has been brought in to play, I think, different roles, maybe utilized as a number 9 at times, or in this formation here as a number 10, even as a 6. But for me, that's not really his role to play in this Arsenal team. And then you've got Trossard, who I've always said is a good player, especially during his Brighton days. And whenever he's come on and played for Arsenal, he's been fantastic. So no, I would say the front attacking midfielders look really good. Then you've got Gabriel Jesus and then Nketiah. So question marks on both players, I'd say, in regards to Jesus. Some would say more of a winger rather than a striker. I would say he looks like a striker in terms of how he plays, just not as prolific as a lot of people would like him to be. And then Nketiah as well. I think Nketiah is a good striker, but for me, not as consistent as you should be, especially playing for a team that's trying to challenge for the title. So in terms of the squad here, that's 22 players here. I think there are a couple other ones. So you've got Fabio Vieira, who I could add. He would also be in contention to play in the number 10 role there. You've got Smith Rowe, who can play on the left or in the centre. Suarez as well, who's the right back if required. And you've got Hein, who's the goalkeeper. So in terms of this squad here, I think if I was to say what area lacks the quality, I think for me up top, I think if they had signed a more prolific striker, which I was expecting Arsenal to do, but it wasn't to be, that would have definitely had strengthened their title charge. And I think with Partey as well, if he was to be injured, you've got Declan Rice there, who's a fantastic player. But then I feel like the quality dips a little bit with El Neni and Jorginho respectively. But Jorginho's got the experience, so it's not a bad sort of replacement in that regards. But no, to be fair, Arsenal have strengthened really well. In my opinion, I think they've recruited well with the likes of Timber, who's a fantastic signing. Then you obviously Declan Rice, 105 million, so it's got to be decent. Havertz was a bit of a strange one for me. I didn't feel like that was the type of player they would have been after, but it is what it is in that regard. So, a strong Arsenal team, a team that would definitely challenge for the title this season. Next team, Aston Villa. So, a lot of people are sort of having high hopes with this team. I've analysed the squad, and I feel like there is some quality players there, but it's probably not as high quality and strength and depth as people may have assumed. So we can go through the squads right now. So obviously it's Martinez, the goalkeeper, World Cup winner. So he can always have that on his, on his back there. In terms of the back four, you've got Luka Dean, who's seemed to have discovered some good form recently. Pau Torres. They've got Longley on loan as well, I believe. Konsa, for me, is an underrated defender, really good player. Diego Carlos has returned from injury as well. They've got Matty Cash, who scored a double not so long ago. They've also got Chambers as backup, and you've got Moreno as a backup for left back as well. So solid back four there, to be fair. Good quality, I would say. Midfield as well, you've got Boubacar Kamara, and you've got Douglas Luiz, and then you've got Dendoncker and Tielemans as backup. So another good acquisitions there. Dendoncker and Tielemans with Premier League experience. So good quality there. Then you'd go for the midfield three. McGinn, who's predominantly playing left mid recently. I feel like that's his role in the team. On the left-hand side, you've got Jacob Ramsey, probably more preferred to play in a central role, but I think due to the signings of Diaby and Zaniolo as well, I think his time will be limited to play those central roles and would be used more of a wide left role, in my opinion. Then you've got Leon Bailey and Bertrand Traore as well, who's a good backup winger. And then you've got Ollie Watkins and you've got Duran as well, who's a new striker for Villa. So I think Diaby, for me, if you watch my previous show, I'm a big fan of Diaby. So with Diaby, definitely one that stands out for me. Normally plays as a right winger, to be fair, in his Bayer Leverkusen days, but I think as a number 10, he just brings that unpredictability to this team. Can literally drift into left or the right wing position, and I think the team is basically evolved around him. So key player. So if he was to go missing, you've got Zaniolo, who's a good player. I thought that was a very smart signing, actually, due to the fact that Buendia is injured for, I think, a long term. In terms of further backup players for this squad, you've got House as well, who's a centre back. Mings, unfortunately, has a long term injury. You've got Kellyman, who's a midfielder. So you've got a few youngsters in the team, but overall, this is a very, very strong squad, and I certainly feel like they will challenge for European spots, whether that's Champions League, Europa League. I think Champions League would be a step too far. I think the Europa League and the Conference League is the areas where I feel like they can cement a place in the end of the season. So yeah, strong team, to be fair. Very, very strong team. Bournemouth. So Bournemouth made some great acquisitions, I would say, especially after analysing their squad. They've got some great wingers. Sinistera, who they've done a swap deal on a loan basis as well, which you don't really get that much. They've also got Justin Kluivert, who we all know is the son of Patrick Kluivert and has had some decent spells with Red Bull Leipzig, with Roma. So this is his chance to play some regular football, make an impression in the Premier League. On the right-hand side, you've got Semenyo, who was fantastic against Liverpool, scored the opening goal there. Otara was someone that I remember last season caused havoc against the Liverpool defence. So you've got great wingers over there. And then in terms of going back to the defensive area, so Neto, solid goalkeeper, showed some good performances last season. Radu as well, another goalkeeper with great experience. Kirkez is one to look out for. Hungarian left back, really, really talented, really good on the ball. So yeah, one to look out for. Smith is more of a utility player, I think, in this squad. So normally a right back, but I feel like he'll probably occupy that left back position if required. Then you've got Senesi, and then we've got Zabani, who are the first choice centre back pairing. Then you've got Lloyd Kelly, and then you've got Methram as well. Good backups for those two. And then you've got Max Aarons, who finally makes his move to the Premier League. I always feel like, why didn't anyone sign him? But Bournemouth did it this season, and so far has really done well for his new team. Fredericks as his backup. Then you've got the midfielder. Currently, their first choice is Rothwell and Christie, but I think in weeks to come, we'll probably see the likes of Tyler Adams come into that team. And you've got Cook, who's a solid backup as well. Another player to look out for is Alex Scott. They've just signed him from Bristol City, a former Bournemouth player, I think, in his youth days as well. So a return for him. And Billing normally occupies that number 10 role, but he can play in that 6 if required. So I feel like this is really the season for Scott to come in and make an impression in this team. One to look out for. Really, really talented young player there. Up top, you've got Solanke and you've got Moore as well. Moore's a good backup player. In regards to their season ahead, I feel like they've got good quality throughout the team. The wide areas, I feel like they're pretty much covered. You've got Scott as well. So if he gets a run of games, he's definitely capable of scoring some goals. Billing as well, we've seen it a few times. He can smash a ball from a distance or two as well. Only thing will be up top. So if Solanke, let's say, wasn't available, is more the player to get the goals, or let's say both of them aren't available, one of the wingers would have to play up top. And out of the strikers, I would probably say Sinisterra might be more accustomed to playing that. I think he's done that for Feyenoord a few times in the past. So yeah, I don't think they'll lack the goals. It'll just be mainly keeping players fit. But the wide areas, I feel like they will definitely cause any team in the league havoc. So they've definitely recruited well in that department. Next team, Brentford. So as we all know, Ivan Toney is resumed training, but not with the first team. He's isolated, doing his own thing, but at Brentford, and he'll be available to play, I think, in January, mid-January, I believe his return date is. So for now, Brentford have to make do and see what they can do until then. But looking at their squad, you've got Flecken as well as their goalkeeper, pretty much the replacement for David Raya, who went to Arsenal. And then you've got Strakosha as well. I thought he might have actually been the first choice. Has some good performances in Serie A for, I believe Lazio was his team. Just hasn't really got the ground running in regards to that. After analysing the squad, I realised they didn't really have a like-for-like backup for Rico Henry. They do have a youngster called Adedojan, who is a left-back, but I'm not sure if he's first team ready. But unfortunately, due to the graphic I'm using, he wasn't actually listed on lineup builder, so wasn't able to add him. But in terms of the remaining back four, I should say, you've got Pinnock, who's also capable of playing left back if required. You've got Zanka, who's pretty much a squad player. Ben Mee, new signing Collins, Hickey as well, and then you've got Roslev as well as the backup right back. Midfield, I think the first choice midfield is pretty much the strongest unit. So you got Janot, Nolgaard, and Jensen. But if any of them were to suffer injury, I feel like the quality would certainly dip. They've re-signed Godos, and they've got Anyeka and Baptiste. Baptiste, unfortunately, is injured, I believe, right now. So yeah, midfield, I don't feel like they have the strength and depth. But these guys normally, in terms of their previous records, do normally stay fit. But it's a big ask to rely on these guys every season. And then your forward line, you've got a new player in Shada who looks really good. Damsgaard is someone I had really high hopes for. I don't know, it just doesn't really get much game time at Brentford. So quite a surprising one in that regards. You've got Wissa as well, who's capable of playing left wing, right wing, or up top. So he's pretty much the guy that will cover Ivan Toney's position in due time. They've got Morpay on loan. Not the biggest fan of Morpay. I don't think he's an elite striker or a Premier League quality striker, but it's a return to his former club, I guess. So hopefully he can give them a hand. And Bremer, fantastic player. He's definitely one that will cause havoc on that right-hand side and get the goals as well. And then you've got De Silva. So decent squad. I would say the midfield is probably the area that I feel like doesn't have the quality in terms of strength and depth. And having an actual left back understudy to Rico Henry. So if Rico Henry was unavailable, and I would say arguably is one of their best players last season, that could be a dilemma as well. You can always put Pinnock there, I guess, but then you've got more gaps in the centre back position. So they do have a couple of youngsters as well. They've got Aya as well, who's actually a solid centre back option. So I guess he can deputise. So yeah, they have the quality there. I think scoring the goals will be the issue. Not the issue, but will be an area where they were heavily reliant on Ivan Toney. So can the other guys chip in? So far, they seem like they are chipping in, but it's actually the defensive area where they're leaking goals as well. So definitely some improvements to do this season for Brentford. Next team is Brighton, an exciting team. You know, I think they definitely blew everyone's expectations last year, finishing for a Europa League spot, which is fantastic for them. And obviously, they've made some interesting signings, which we'll go through now. So the first one is actually their goalkeeper, Verbruggen. So the original goalkeeper was Sanchez. He's gone to Chelsea. He went for 25 million, which was quite cheap. We can talk about Chelsea, but in terms of the goalkeeper, they signed Sanchez. For me, wasn't really a great signing, but we'll talk about it in the Chelsea section. You've got Steele as the backup, and then back four. They don't really have a left back option as a backup, from what I reviewed. So I've placed Lamptey there. I don't think he normally plays that role, but I think if required, he can deputise there. So, but you've got Estupinian as well as the main left back. You've got Dunk, Webster. Igor is one of their new signings, so he'll be interesting to watch this season. Van Heck is another one, and you've got Milner playing right back. Didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought he would have played in midfield when he joined Brighton, but you know, that's the role he's been given to in this team. And then you've got Veltman as his backup. Midfield, got Gilmore, who's looked pretty decent actually in the last few games in the start of the season. Beleba is one to look out for. They've signed him from Lille, so he's just joined the club. I think once he gets to speed, expect to see him great left foot on him as well. So a good player there, full of energy. Then you got Kraus as well, pretty much a mainstay in this team. Mahmoud Dawood as well, good player who they got on a free transfer from Dortmund. And the midfield attacking three there, you've got Mitoma, fantastic left winger. No need to elaborate on him too much. Great dribbling ability. Ansu Fati was one of the biggest and surprising signings in the Premier League, I would say, on loan as well. But, you know, unfortunately, he's had a terrible time with regards to injury. So hopefully he can stay fit and showcase his talent. We've all seen it during his Barca days. So hopefully he can rediscover some form this season. João Pedro as well, one to look out for, in my opinion. Looks quality player. And Cisco is one that can play on the left or as the number 10 role. Definitely one to look out for. Scored a great goal towards the latter stage of last season. Talented player there. Solly March as well on the right-hand side. And then you've got Dingra. And then up top, you've got Ferguson. And then the understudy would have been Welbeck. But unfortunately, I couldn't find him in the system. So that's why he's not listed. But in terms of the squad, you've got another centre mid in Modder there. You've got Lallana as well. Buonato, I believe, is a defender. And you've got McGill. So exciting team here, to be fair. And they've made some good acquisitions. Pedro will be one to excite the fans, definitely. Can play as a number 10, can even play as a 9 or on the wings. So he'll definitely be involved in that team in some shape or form. Big season for Gilmore. I feel like last season he didn't really live up to that potential that he showed at Chelsea, but he's slowly, I feel like, showing good form. That was a good one. So yeah, some good acquisitions here. Just got a comment here from Double D. Where's Robs? LOL. Yeah, the website I'm using, they don't have him listed for some reason. So, but yeah, he would be back up to Ferguson. I unfortunately just can't add him within the graphic. So there might be a few players there, but I will mention it during the show when I present each team. Next one is Burnley. So they signed Trafford, probably on the back end of great Euro Under-21 Championship. Showed great form there. You've got Muric. And then back four, you've got some decent players there. You've got Al Dakhil, who is attacking right back. You've got Vitina as a backup. Roberts, and you've got Taylor. Taylor's been at Burnley for a long time. And you've got Bayer, and then you've got O'Shea, and Del Crew, and Egdal, sorry, as the backup centre backs there. And then you've got the midfield. So Sanderberg is someone they signed from Sheffield United. Cullen as well has, I think he scored so far this season. You've got Brownhill, Cork as backup. Gudmundsson's been at Burnley for a while. Show as well scored a fantastic goal not so long ago. Looks exciting player. Zarori as well, another exciting player. So some good youngsters here. Downey, another exciting player of a Moroccan heritage. He looks like a player that can score some goals. Foster, another goal scorer there. And then you've got Manuel and Obafemi as well. And I think there are a few other players within the Burnley squad. They've got quite a few goalkeepers. They've got Nathan Redman, who I couldn't add on the website. They didn't have him on the system. I don't know why. You also got Ramsey, and who they signed from Villa. And then you've got Odobert, Tressor, just to name a few. So they've got a big squad, considering they just come up from the Championship. They play some good football, but I feel like they might get caught out at this level. So already they've conceded quite a number of goals. So interesting to see how they do later this season. Billy FC, or Chelsea as we all know. Spent a lot of money. Let's see if it's money well spent or not. So Robert Sanchez, for me, I would say he's the average goalkeeper. I don't think he was any better than Kepa or Edouard Mendy. I think Edouard Mendy just lost form, unfortunately, due to injuries. And he went over to Saudi, which, don't blame him, to be fair. I don't know. I think considering the amount of wealth that this club has, a better goalkeeper probably should have been recruited, in my opinion. But hey, that's their choice there. And then you've got Bettinelli as a backup. Turns into the back three. Colwell, very talented young player there. Solid player. Future Chelsea captain, in my opinion. And looks really solid there. Mainstay defender. Thiago Silva, fantastic defender. What can I say? Even as old as he gets, he's still a top player. Never really relies on speed, but his reading of the game is phenomenal. So still a top player, very important player for Chelsea. Diassi as well, signing that they made from Monaco. Looks a bit shaky, I would say. I think obviously he made that impression when he scored against Liverpool. But I think he's still getting accustomed to the Premier League. Back up, you've got Cucurella. I don't think he'll be playing as a left back. I think he was exposed quite a bit of time. So maybe as the left side centre back would be a role that suits him. Badashar as well, I believe he's returned to training, so he will be available to play for Chelsea in the coming weeks. And you got Chalobah. So good collection of centre backs there. Now they play midfield four. Reece James is currently injured, but I believe he will be back soon. So if in a fully fit squad, he will be first choice. But his understudy, Gusto, looks like a real talent. Had a phenomenal game last week in the Premier League. So good signing there. You've got Enzo Fernandez, who's actually played more further up. But I feel like maybe that's because there were certain players that haven't returned to the squad, or some players weren't signed. So I don't see him playing in an advanced role behind the striker. I think playing as a centre mid suits his capability, and playing alongside Caicedo. And then you've got backups of Lavia and Gallagher as well, which is solid midfield four, to be fair. Then you've got Ben Chilwell, and then you've got Martin as well, who's not really a fullback. He's more of a winger. But I feel like for this system, it might suit in terms of how he plays, because he's an out-and-out winger, likes to hit that byline. So maybe suits them stylistically. And then the advanced forwards there, you've got Mudryk on the left, Chukwuemeka as well, scored a great goal the other day for Chelsea coming from the left-hand side. So I feel like those two will be playing or challenging for that role there. Then you've got Sterling and Madueke as well. And you've got Nicholas Jackson up top and Broha as well. Broha, I believe, has just returned to training, so he should be available. Unfortunate for Chelsea, Fofana suffered a terrible injury in pre-season, so I believe he's pretty much out for the remainder of the season. And Cuckoo has a long-term injury as well, but he will be available, I think, in the next few months. So it'll be after January. So a big loss, especially in Cuckoo, who I feel like looked really exciting in pre-season. In terms of the rest of the squad, they've got a young striker in Washington as well. Apparently really highly rated from Brazil. Cole Palmer, who I couldn't add in this squad here. Surprising signing for me. I think he should have stayed in City. If in my opinion, I feel like he would have actually got a lot of game time playing there. But who knows? Maybe money talks in this regards, or he just felt like he wasn't going to get those first team opportunities. But in this team, I feel like they don't really play to his traits. As you can see, they're not really playing out and out wingers as such. But he can play as a number 10, so we'll see. I just feel like he maybe should have stayed at City one more season and then taken this move next year. But in terms of the squad, there is quality there. You know, I'm not going to be a hater and not say there's no quality there at all. I just feel like a lot of the signings are young players that aren't accomplished as of yet. And I feel like because they spent so much money, you would have expected them to sign a few high-profile players. So, for example, Enzo Fernandez was one of those high-profile players. Caicedo as well. Mudryk had a good few months playing for Shakhtar Donetsk, and they blew, quote me if I'm wrong, I feel like 80 million, 90 million, what was it? So that was a mistake on their part. I don't feel like he definitely showed promise and it was an exciting talent whenever I watched him in the Champions League, but to blow 80, 90 million straight away was outrageous. So they're probably, regretting that decision there. Jackson looks like a quality striker. Maybe if they signed a bit more of an accomplished player there and have Jackson as a backup would have been a smarter decision there. But look, this squad, there's plenty of talent here, plenty of quality here. And for me, I expect them to be challenging top 4. You can't spend £1 billion and just say, oh, we're a work in progress. There's no team that spends that kind of money and regards work in progress. So huge pressure on them to live up to expectations because I certainly feel like they need to be challenging for top 4. Crystal Palace, interesting squad here. I would have expected them to have made more acquisitions, but I feel like they're looking a bit thin in certain areas. So goalkeeper area, they're fine. Johnston is a solid goalkeeper, and they've got Dean Henderson, who's just joined the club. So 2 good English goalkeepers there. Back 4, you've got Mitchell on the left, you've got Ward on the right. Ward, I thought was out of favour at some point, but under Roy Hodgson, he's that guy. So he's back in the fold, and the final client as the backup. And then they've signed Rob Holding from Arsenal, which was a good addition to, in my opinion. So you've got Gay as well. You've got Anderson as your 2 main centre backs, and then you've got Holding, and then you've got Richard to back up. So in terms of the squad, from what I remember, I don't think they had a like-for-like left back. So with regards to the formation, I think someone like Ferguson, who only plays on the right, can play left back, would probably be regarded as backup for that role. So maybe left back is an area that they should probably have looked into in the transfer market. Midfield, they signed Lerma from Bournemouth. Good signing. I think he's a very energetic player, gets goals as well from playing in a more deeper role. So good addition there. They managed to keep the whole of Doucouré, who was heavily linked with Liverpool. So that's definitely a positive for them. Eze as well, he was also linked with a move to Spurs. So yeah, these 3 definitely a good balance, I would say, in that midfield. Then you've got Will Hughes, you've got Riderwald, and then you've got Ahmada as well. I feel like the quality dips if one of these players were not playing in this team. So I feel like maybe one or two additions, maybe one more addition would have just strengthened their midfield and given the manager, I guess, peace of mind. In terms of the front three, you've got Schlupp, who's currently playing that left wing. Ayew as well. You've got Edouard and Mateta. I thought they were signed a new striker and a left winger in the summer, but it wasn't to be. But they managed to keep hold of Olise, who was strongly linked to a move to Chelsea. So that's definitely a positive. And then you've got Rakasaki as well. As I mentioned, there'll be a few players in this graphic where they're missing. So the new signing, Franca, who's currently injured, actually, I wasn't able to find him on this website, but he would be expected to be one of their starters in the left wing. Haven't seen much of him, to be fair, but there's a lot of praise or a lot of expectations behind his name. So interesting to see how he does. I think Palace spent big money, around 20 odd million, I think they did. So huge expectations to live up to that bill and replacing a club legend in Wilfred Zaha as well. So yeah, I just feel like looking at the squad defensively, I think they've got the numbers there. Up top, I think the striker role, I feel like it doesn't have the quality, in my opinion. Edouard has shown moments this season. Mateta comes in, does a decent job as well. But I feel like a lethal striker would have just taken Palace to that next level, maybe in the top half, maybe even challenging for one of the European spots, like the Conference League. But it's not something that they've looked into. But nevertheless, decent squad. Definitely safe from relegation. I don't see them getting relegated at all. Speaking of relegation, this might be one of the contenders for that part of the table, unfortunately. So let's have a look at the squad. So Everton, you've got Pickford, Lonergan as their backup. And then in terms of the back four, you've got Ashley Young. He's not so young right now, but, he's there. Tarkowski, Michael Keane and Patterson, which is a solid, compact back four. So you're not expecting any creativity from either fullbacks, maybe from Ashley Young because he's more experienced. But Patterson is normally just there to block tackles and make some good challenges against the opponent attackers. In terms of backup, you've got Mikolenko, you've got Godfrey, Brantwaite, and then you've got Coleman. So yeah, decent numbers there. Danjuma, great coup to get him on board. You've got Jack Harrison, a good signing there as well from Leeds United. You've got Onana, you've got Andre Gomez, who's in and out of the team, but he's still there. You've got Gay, you've got Anyango, a young player there. Garner normally plays centre mid, but that seems to favour him on the right-hand side, so that's why I placed him as well. And you've got Dwight McNeil, who can play in that role. Doucouré has been played as that number 10 for this team. I probably wouldn't have played him there. I probably would have preferred Danjuma there because they've got enough wingers. They've got Harrison and McNeil there, but that's the tactics that Sean Dyche is deploying right now. You've got Dele Alli as well, who we haven't seen on the pitch, but hopefully we do in due time. And then you've got Calvert-Lewin. He's returned to injury, so let's hope he stays fit because he will play a big part in helping Everton stay in the league. And then you've got a young striker in Beto as well. For me, Danjuma is their key to success. If he's on fire and he's scoring goals and he's getting the team 3 points, then they have a chance of staying up. But it's a lot of pressure on him. Calvert-Lewin, for me, is pretty much injury prone. Can't be relied upon. So if he's there, it's a bonus. If he's not, then they've got to try and come up with plan B, plan C, plan D, you name it. They don't have the biggest squad either. So you've got Dobbin, who's a left winger, and Chamiti, who is another striker. Is it enough? I'm not quite so sure. This could be the season where, unfortunately, I'm not speaking as a Liverpool fan, but I'm speaking as a neutral. If I'm speaking as a Liverpool fan, I'm saying gladly they'll get relegated. But from a neutral perspective, it might be the season where they are in a relegation fight. But well, let's see how it goes. Fulham. So decent players, to be fair. Palhinha, unfortunately, didn't get his move to Bayern Munich. So he would definitely have felt disappointed with that. But it's one of those things where you've got to just shrug it off and then keep it moving. And he showed a great account of himself last season. So a move will come for him in the future, I would say. In terms of the squad, you've got Leno, solid goalkeeper there. Rodak as well, who's been at Fulham for a long time. Back four, Robinson, very highly rated left back in my opinion. When I've seen him play, looks very, very impressive. You've got Ballo-Touré as a backup player that was very highly regarded when he in his younger days. He was at PSG, then moved over to AC Milan. Hasn't really lived up to his potential, but a player that definitely has the talent, I would say. Then you've got Ream as well, who's solid defender for them. Diop, and then you've got Bassi, and you've got Tosin as well, who unfortunately was linked to a move away from the club to Monaco, I believe it was, but that never materialized. And you've got Tete as a right back, but you've got Castagna as well from Leicester City, a player that is capable of playing left back or right back, so a great addition to their team. And then in terms of the midfield, you've got Pereira, can play on that left side, but can drift in the middle as a number 10, as well as Kearney. So you've got two attack-minded midfielders there, but definitely good players, team players, and definitely work for the team. You've got Reed as backup for Palhinha, and you've got Lukic, and Iwobi as well, who I didn't actually realize until I was doing this analysis, joined Fulham. I think he joined towards the latter stage of the transfer window. So yeah, he can play midfield role and he can play further up top if required. And speaking of further up top, you've got the Cordova Reed on the left-hand side, gets goals from that position. So he's definitely one player that will help with their Premier League status. Willian as well, still playing, still around. Don't know how effective it will be, but he's there. You've got Harry Wilson, good player, good solid player, can play on the left or the right. Great technique when it comes to free kicks. So yeah, talented player there. Dama Traore, free transfer. So he's been reunited with a former Wolves member in Raul Jimenez as well. And you've got Vinicius as backup. Jimenez is a good one. I think the deal was a 5.5 million as Mitrovic's replacement. In terms of the transfer fee, yes, it's great business. However, I don't know if he still has that pedigree to be a lethal striker in the Premier League. Since that unfortunate incident where he suffered a head injury, hasn't really been able to replicate that form. So looking at this squad, I feel like goals may be an issue here because the only player apart from Jimenez that can get goals is the Cordova Reed. Wilson will chip in here and there, but not in huge amounts, in my opinion. And then you've got the likes of Traore and Willian, who are normally out-and-out wingers. They're not really there to contribute in terms of goal scoring, more as playmakers or players to provide assist for the strikers there. So no, I would say a solid team. Goals might be one that they will lack. It might be a thing where they look to sign a striker in the January windows. But for now, they look like a decent outfit. So yeah, we'll see how their season pans out. Yeah, Liverpool. So let's talk about my team now. So in terms of the squad depth, I feel like Liverpool have done really, really well in terms of getting the numbers. You've got Alisson, number one goalkeeper, of course. Kelleher back up for me, one of the best number twos in the league. Really, really solid keeper. Then you've got Robertson, Tsimikas left back. You've got Van Dijk and our new youngster in Kwanzaa as well. Kanate, Matip, and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez would probably play as a centre back for this team, but in terms of for this sort of presentation, I placed him at right back because he would be cover for Trent if required. We also have Conor Bradley, a young player from who was on loan actually at Bolton last year. So a player there that can definitely make an impression whenever fit. But I feel like the safe choice would be to have Joe Gomez if Trent Alexander-Arnold is not available. Kwanzaa is a good player to come in if required, but won't be heavily relied on. Young player still learning his trade. So in terms of back four, I would say the centre back positions, you've got Van Dijk, Konate, Matip, Gomez. So those are solid collection of centre backs there, in my opinion. Then you've got the midfield there. You've got McAllister, who some would say is not his best position player as a six. I feel like he does a great job there, in my opinion. But if if things aren't working, we need a destroyer. We can always bring Endo in the lineup. And you've got Gravenberch, who will, for me, if he performs the way he did at Ajax, we've got one hell of a player in our team right now. You've got Thiago, who's close to returning to injury. He can be effective on the pitch. So Boslai just seems to be that star in the making right now. Someone I've been raving about for a number of months. So I'm just happy that my talent ID is evident, that I can spot a good player when I watch football. So yeah, one proof there in terms of what I see when I watch the game. We've got Curtis Jones, who will be a very important player, can play in different roles, can play as a 6, can play as an 8, can even play as a left wing if required. So in terms of the midfield, midfield was an area for us last season where we lacked energy, we lacked quality, we lacked aggression. I feel like we've got a good balance there, to be fair. Up top, we've got good numbers as well. We've got Luis Diaz, Jota on the left-hand side, Darwin Núñez, who I feel like will score a lot of goals this season. I feel like he's getting accustomed to the league. It looks like he's full of confidence as well. Saw a clip of him playing for Uruguay, showing some good playing ability there, especially providing assists. So got a lethal player in our hands. Hopefully he'll be unleashed this season. And then you've got Mo Salah and you've got Harvey Elliott as backup. Also got the likes of Ben Doak for the forward roles if required. We've got Adrian and Peter Luga as well as backup goalkeepers. Conor Bradley, I mentioned before, and Bajic as well, if required. So in terms of the numbers, I feel like Liverpool have the right quality. If I was to really nitpick, maybe the centre-back role, not due down to his quality, maybe because of lack of experience. Kwanzaa would be the one where we're like, oh, if we got a couple of injuries in that area, is he ready to play that role? That would be the key. Talent in terms of what I've seen of him so far, it looks like is a player with huge potential, but is it too soon to throw him in the deep end right now? Thankfully, we don't have any injuries. Obviously, that will play a big part in terms of how well we do this season. Luton Town. So newcomers to the Premier League. Interesting formation. They play or have been playing a 5-3-2 formation. So they're definitely trying to make sure they're not leaking goals, which is fair enough. In terms of their goalkeeping department, they've got Kaminski as their main goalkeeper. You've got Tim Krul, who is a veteran. He's been around the block. In terms of the back five there, you've got a lot of numbers there. You've got Giles, you've got Bell, Anderson, Burke, Doughty, and then you've got Kabore, Lockyer, Mengi, former United player there, Potts and Johnson. So interesting collection of defenders there. You've got Ross Barkley, which was for me a surprise signing. I thought he would stay at Nice, but clearly wanted to return back to the Premier League. So here he is. You've got Clark as backup. You've got new signing Lokonga. Normally it's Nakamba who plays for Luton Town, but unfortunately I couldn't add him on this graphic. It wasn't available on this website. So I've actually had to add Lokonga as a starter, but he could be a starter. He does have that quality to really make a claim in this team. You've got Mpanzu as well. You've got Chong, another former United player there. Berry in the midfield. And then up top, you've got Adebayo, you've got Ogbene as backup, you've got Morris and Woodrow. So a lot of unknown commodities there, if I'm being brutally honest, in terms of playing wise. I think it's going to be a big ask for them to stay up in this league. The quality, the gap is so huge now that unfortunately I don't feel like they have much of a chance, and that's been as respectable as possible there. Man City, this should be an easy one to analyze. So You've got Edison and Ortega as the goalkeepers. Back four is solid, probably one of the most strongest ones, I'll say, alongside Liverpool and Arsenal. I'd say in terms of quality, you've got Ake, Sergio Gomez as your backup left backs. Gavardio, great signing. Definitely jealous of that one. And Akanji, top player there. Ruben Diaz, Stones as well, who's capable of playing centre back or defensive mid requires. So definitely a valuable member of that squad. Then you've got Kyle Walker and you've got Rico Lewis as backup. Midfield, you've got Rodri, Phillips, Kovacic, and you've got new signing in Mateus Nunes. As you can see, I've not added De Bruyne here, not because I'm a hater, because he's got a long-term injury. He's out for 5 months, I believe it is, or at the moment, that is what has been broadcasted. So that means he won't be available until February, March, that kind of time period. So that's pretty much most of the season gone. So that will have a big impact in their season, in my opinion. And then you've got your advanced midfielders there. You've got Jack Grealish and Foden for the left-hand side. Alvarez has been playing as that number 10, so he's been not much as a creator in this team, but he's been definitely a goal threat, which is only enhancing their way of killing teams right now. You've got Bernardo Silva, who can play in that role if required. And you've got young Jeremy Doku, a new signing from was it Rons, I think he came from. So yeah, exciting player there. And then you've got Erling Haaland as well. So in terms of numbers, it's a bit less in comparison to other squads. I think you've got a young player in Bob, and I think they were hoping to have Cole Palmer as part of their final squad, but obviously he decided to leave, I think, on transfer deadline day, so they weren't able to bring another player in regards to replacing within the squad. So a player short, I'd say. Looking at the squad defensively, I think they're pretty much sorted. Got a lot of quality there. In the wings as well, Grealish, Foden, Doku, exciting winger there. Bernardo Silva, fine. Alvarez and Haaland will obviously get you goals. My concern is actually their midfield, because Rodri, arguably one of the best DMs in the world right now, but you've got Kovacic as one of their signings, who's got injury record history, unfortunately, especially at Chelsea. Calvin Phillips, predominantly always injured, unfortunately. Mateus Nunes is one that can kind of replicate what they would miss if De Bruyne is in the team. So a player that can play a bit further up, be that creator. But for him, it will take time to get used to playing to this team. We all are witnesses in terms of whenever Pep signs a new player, they normally don't hit the ground running just like that. It takes them at least 6 months to get accustomed to his tactics and his way of playing. So I'm not expecting him to be thrown in the deep end straight away, but definitely a good player. I've mentioned his name quite a few times on my show. Probably say this time last year, because I really wanted him at Liverpool. So definitely a good player, a good acquisition to the squad. Can they make it another league title? Will be revealed at the end of the show. Next one is Manchester United. So yeah, interesting squad. On paper, it feels like it's not bad, but I don't know, tactically, Ten Hag isn't getting the best out of the squad. But we'll go through the squad anyway. So Onana as well, one of the new signings, has looked very edgy, to say the least. Good with the ball, can be erratic when it comes to actual being a goalkeeper and shot stopping, but that's where they sign up in terms of having that type of goalkeeper in their team. Bain there as well, another player they've got from Turkey. Back four, you've got Luke Shaw, Reguilon, who they've got. I think they've got him on loan, haven't they? So from Atletico Madrid, you've got Martinez, Varane, and they've got Harry Maguire, who didn't leave the club as was planned, never materialized. Lindelof is there, and you've got Diogo Dalot and Wan-Bissaka as your right back options. Midfield, I know he hasn't played as of yet, but I think he will be predominantly in the first team. That's Amrabat alongside Casemiro, which would be a good double pivot there. Not a lot of creativity, but you've got two destroyers there that can definitely help avoid leaking goals. Amrabat is also probably away in January with AFCON playing for Morocco, so something they need to consider. In terms of backup, you've got Eriksen and McTominay, and then you've got Rashford and Garnacho as your left wing options. Due to personal issues right now, Anthony he's not been selected in the squad. We're not sure when his return will be. So I've got Sancho and I've got Pellistri on the right-hand side. Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount. Thing is, on paper, Mason Mount is probably a good player to play in that system, but Ten Hag has actually played him in the number 6 role quite a few times. That's not the role that he should be playing, in my opinion. So I've placed him as a backup to Bruno, but a player that can play in multiple positions. Then you've got Højlund, who looks like an exciting talent, one that I've mentioned about before he joined Manchester United, a young player that really excites me. And then you've got Martial still there, Mr. Ballon d'Or clause there. So he's still around. On paper, it looks like a good squad, but I don't know. Is it enough to make a top 4 charge? Remains to be seen. I feel like there's a lot of issues at Manchester United right now. We'll see. Newcastle. So you've got some good additions to the team there. You've got Tonali that was brought in. You've got Livramento, for me, a good right back. Remember when he burst onto the scene in terms of his impact at Southampton after joining from Chelsea. Really, really good. Unfortunately, with a long-term injury, but hopefully he can regain that this season. So you've got Nick Pope in goal, Dubravka as backup. So solid goalkeepers there. Dan Burn, Botman, Shah, and Trippier as your first choice. Back 4. Then you've got Taggart, you've got Lascelles, Graf, and you've got Livramento. So solid defensive options there. Midfield, Joelinton, Guimaraes, and Tonali. And then you've got Willock, Longstaff, and new player Elliot Anderson. So Anderson is definitely someone to look out for, a young up-and-coming player there. Gordon and Barnes, like for like players on the left wing, so some good players there. Isaac, definitely a problem in the Premier League, scoring some great goals and definitely a handful for any opposition. And Almiron seemed to have discovered his form last season after getting insulted by Jack Grealish during his parade. And he seems like he's doing really well this season as well. And you've got Jacob Murphy as backup there. So in terms of the overall squad, got some good numbers there, I would say. You've got defensive backups. You've got Dummett. You've got Manquillo, Lewis Hall, who they've got from Chelsea, Richie, who can play left wing. So I think they've got a decent squad. Isaac is definitely one that will help in terms of their success. But they've got goals all over the team. I would say Gordon, I feel like that is an area he needs to improve on. His end product, really good on the ball when it comes to dribbling. And I would say just when it comes to that final pass or final shot, he's lacking that quality. So I think once he gets that right, they've got a player with huge potential there. One that would definitely help aid their challenge for top 4 and major honours this season. Midfield, Tonali seems to have embedded him very well, despite not looking pleased whenever I've seen him on TV, but he's there. And defensively, really solid. One of the best defensive teams last season with a high number of clean sheets. So, no, overall solid team. Could they make a charge or continue to maintain the top 4 status? I think they have a strong chance, to be fair. Nottingham Forest. This team, when I was analysing, was really interesting. Some players that I didn't even know that were signed, to be fair. Really, really exciting players there. Just got a comment here from Football Life. Hello, brother. Hope you're good. Thank you, Football Life. Appreciate your comment. I'm all good doing this Premier League prediction show. So, yeah, I appreciate your time for viewing the show. Let's talk Nottingham Forest. So, they signed Turner from Arsenal. Good acquisition, actually. I think he was a goalkeeper that, whenever I've seen him play for the national team, which is the USA, decent goalkeeper, just wasn't able to get much game time under Arsenal, unfortunately. So he's made the move to Nottingham Forest. You've got Hovarth, who's another American, as his understudy. In terms of the back three, you've got McKenna, Worrell, and Bowley. Bowley, definitely a good addition. Had a great game the other day. I think it was against Chelsea. It was. So, yeah, definitely a good addition to the team. And then we've got Niakete, we've got Murillo. Murillo is someone I'm looking forward to seeing. Very highly regarded Brazilian centre back, big in stature, left footed as well. So interesting to see how he does for Nottingham Forest. And Felipe. And then you've got midfield four. You've got Ola Aina, Nuno Tavares on loan, which, yeah, I didn't know that move happened, to be fair. That one definitely slipped under the radar. This one slipped under the radar for me was Aurier and Monitel from Sevilla. Did not know he actually joined them as well. So, yeah, none of us were busy when it comes to recruiting players this summer, as they did last summer, to be fair. Surprising signing was actually Sangare, who was very heavily linked with the likes of PSG, Liverpool, some big teams across Europe. But he's made the move to Nottingham Forest. I believe he had a 35 million release clause. So he's someone I'm really looking forward to seeing. I feel like he's going to make a big impression in the Premier League this year. Then we've got Yates and Koyate as your backup players for midfield. Danilo is a very forward-minded centre mid, but can play different roles as well. So, yeah, he'll be one of their key players this season, as well as Gibbs White, who was phenomenal last year. Hassan Adoy, who they got for 5 million peanuts in this day and age. He will definitely get some game time. And, Liverpool's cult hero, Origi, makes a return, which is nice to see, to Nottingham Forest on loan from AC Milan. Awoniyi will be leading the line. And then you've got Alanga on the right-hand side, scored the winning goal against Chelsea the other day. And then you've got Emmanuel Dennis, who is playing right wing, can also play up top as well. So great options there. Exciting team, to be fair. Yeah, they've got a good balance, to be fair. I think the formation that they're deploying mainly is a 3-4-3. I've seen them do a 3-5-2 at times, but mainly 3-4-3. And I feel like they've signed the right players for this role. So Nuno Tavares, for example, when he joined Arsenal, I think he had 1 or 2 great games, and all of a sudden people realized that, oh, he's not actually a great defender. But playing that wing back / left midfield role really suits his capability. So he's basically joined the right team that suits his style. And you've got Ori as well. Seems to be a playmaker. He got like 2-3 assists in one game the other day. So he's definitely going to have an impact in this team. Montiel as well, for me, yeah, surprise signing. Argentine international as well. So, yeah, some good players. Sangare as well, Boston midfield. Exciting times for Nottingham Forest fans there. Sheffield United didn't really begin their transfer window with huge optimism, I'll say, because they saw one of their best players in Billy Sharp to LA Galaxy. So that definitely did not help with regards to their fan base. Obviously disappointed to have one of their leading players depart and not really replaced in the same manner. But it's fine. We'll review their squad right now. So you've got Fedringham and Davis as the goalkeepers. You've got Robinson, former Liverpool player there, or youth player, I should say. Egan and Ahmed Dozic. Hope I haven't butchered that name. Then you've got Lau and then Trusty and Basham as your backup centre backs there. And then the midfield 5, another wild formation, and 3-5-2. So you've got Alurici, another Liverpool youth player there. Luke Thomas, who I didn't know that actually signed from Leicester City. That's a good signing for them. You've got Hammer, definitely a player that gets on the scoring sheet there. Davis, a former Everton player. Norwood, pretty much the anchorman of this team. You've got Osborne, Vinicius Souza, Slimane, and you've got Baldock as well. And you've got Bogle. Bogle scored a great goal the other day. I think it was against Man City. So, yeah, good attacking fullbacks in this team. And you've got Archer, who scored the goal the other day. Traore, new signing. McBurney, another player that's been around the block in terms of at Sheffield United. And you've got Osula as well. So, some decent names there, I would say. Not enough for me, in my opinion, to stay in the league, unfortunately. Looking at their squad, they have the numbers, but unfortunately, a lot of the players are young players. The only one, or only ones, I should say, that have some sort of experience is Fleck. You've got Brewster as well, but he hardly gets game time, unfortunately, at Sheffield United. So big ask. This formation that they're playing, you're thinking they should be able to avoid leaking goals, but so far it hasn't happened. So this is another ball game when it comes to the Premier League, and it's going to be a big mountain to climb for them to maintain that Premier League status this season. Tottenham, one of the exciting teams, I would say, this season so far. So you've got Vicario as the number one goalkeeper, and you've got Forster as backup. Hugo Lloris is still at the club. He didn't make that move as planned, or as he tried to force a move. He said it was the end of an era, and unfortunately, it just never materialized. He had interest at Saudi Arabia, I think Lazio, and one of his former club, Nice, as well. I think that was one of his boyhood clubs. Just didn't happen. So he's unfortunately not even selected in the squads. I think that's been communicated to him, and he's pretty much there to rot until the January window, which is a shame, as he's been one of their top performers in the last 5-6 years, and unfortunately, he will have a sort of a bad taste to his legacy as a Tottenham player. But it is what it is in that regards. In terms of the back four, Udogie looks like such an exciting player from Udinese, a really good player. You've got Sessegnon as well, who would be a like for like, which is a good player to have in the squad. Van der Ven looks really good, solid centre back, left footed as well. Ben Davies is right back. Romero scored a smashing goal the other day. Eric Dyer as backup. They've got Pedro Porro, who looks phenomenal as well. Seems to be like a playmaker from that right hand side. So definitely expect to see him assist, and I think he'll get on a score sheet quite a few times as well. And then you've got Emerson Royale as the backup right back. You've got the resurgence of Bissouma, who never really got any game time last season, but he's definitely had a great start to his Premier League season so far. You've got Højbjerg as backup. Pape Sarr as well, someone that I've mentioned in the past. Great young up-and-coming midfielder. He's been getting a lot of game time recently under Big Ange, so really good to see. You've got Oliver Skip as backup. So you've got good balance there in the double pivot midfield three. You've got Solomon on the left with Perisic as the backup. You've got Kulusevski, new signing Johnson. Can't remember what the fee was, but yeah, he went for a big amount there. Good signing, I think. Really good signing. Kulusevski, good player, but sometimes he's quite predictable. I feel like Johnson would add a different dynamic play in that right-hand side where he's faster, he's more skillful, and he can be a bit more unpredictable. And he definitely has a more of an attacking threat in front of goal as well. So good additions there. Johnson can actually play on the left-hand side if required, or even as a number 10, as he did for Nottingham Forest earlier this season and even in the latter stage of last season. So a good acquisition to the squad. Madison, another great acquisition to the squad. He's warmed up to the white jersey of Tottenham like he's been playing there for a number of years. So yeah, he's really playing some great football right now. Hopefully he stays fit for his own sake. You've got Lo Celso back in the fold as well. And then you've got Son playing a great role for me as a striker. I feel like it suits his status, I think, as a player right now, where maybe he doesn't have that speed the way he used to from the left-hand side. So playing the more central role where he's more effective around the 6-yard box, and he would definitely get a number of goals this year. So good decision for me to convert him into that striking role. Richarlison, you all know my view about him. I think he's awful. So in terms of the squad, he will kind of be back up for that forward role, can play on the left-hand side. Not to great effect, but it is what it is in that regard. But in terms of the overall squad, it's not a bad team, to be fair. I think they've got some good acquisitions as well. Vicario, I haven't seen much of, so interesting how he does. For Spurs, Udogie looks fantastic. Could be one of the best signings of the summer. I think the way he's really blossomed so far in a Spurs shirt. and then Van der Ven. So yeah, some good players. Bissouma looks like he's playing back to his best form as well. Interesting season. Where will Tottenham end? I'll let you know in terms of how I predict for them. Then you got West Ham. West Ham, I feel like, have signed some good players, used that money very wisely, that Declan Rice money there. Teams in the past have been given big funds and haven't really recruited well. I think West Ham are the contrary there. I think they've done really well with their acquisition. So in terms of their squad, you've got Areola, Fabianski. Areola looks off. I've always rated Areola. I just feel like it's just been unfortunate where he's played at clubs where, he's played at PSG, Real Madrid, didn't really get the chance to be a first team goalkeeper. But you can see whenever he plays for West Ham, top quality goalkeeper, great shot stopper, good with the ball with his feet as well. So yeah, good to see him as the number one now. In terms of the back four, you've got Emerson and Cresswell as your left backs. You've got Kofau and Ben Johnson as your right back. And then you've got Agod, Zuma, and Ogbana and Kehra as your midfield centre-back pairings as well. So good quality there. Alvarez and Ward-Prowse were the two players that were brought in to replace Declan Rice. And yeah, smart business there. Ward-Prowse, I feel like people just think he's a set-piece merchant. He's actually not. He's a very good player. Great engine on him, has great variation in terms of his passing, and a hard-working player for the team. So fantastic addition. Surprised many other teams didn't go for him. I actually did identify him as a player they should sign before the end of last season. So glad I take him my word to some extent. Alvarez as well, very good player from Ajax. Can play in different roles, can play as a centre back if required, but really effective in that defensive mid role. If you look at his stats from last season, had some very high numbers in terms of interceptions and tackling. So yeah, good acquisition. They're going for like 35 million, I think it was. Great business in this day and age. Then you've got Susek, and you've got Coventry as your backups, and then the midfield three looks like a good balance there. You've got Ben Rama on your left, Paqueta as your number 10, and then you've got Bone on the right. Exciting signing for me was Mohamed Kudus, really highly rated attacking player from Ajax, Ghanaian international, a player that I wanted at Liverpool, but it wasn't to be. You've got Pablo Fornals, you can play at number 10 role, can play on the right, sorry, if required, or on the left. And then you've got Cornet as well, out and out winger, definitely a threat, and can score some goals as well. And then up top, you've got Antonio and you've got Ings. So looking at the squad, some good numbers there. They don't have the biggest of squads, to be fair. I think they've got a reserve goalkeeper called Anang, and they've got Mavropanos as well, former Arsenal player. I believe they signed him from Stuttgart, from Germany. And they got Mubamba as well, another striker up top. So key will be to keep all of these players fit as long as possible. And yeah, I think definitely they can do well. I think this season they can definitely challenge for Europe, in my opinion. I feel like they've got the squad there. So yeah, remains to be seen how they do. And a final team to review before I present my overall Premier League table prediction is Wolves. So you've got Jose Sarr, who I thought was actually going to leave the club, but he managed to stay, which is good for Wolves. And you've got Bentley. Another player who I thought was going to leave was Kilman, very close to moving to Napoli, but that move never materialized. Only benefits Wolves in that matter. Ait Nouri, great player. I really like him. Feel like a big club will be watching him this season, and it'll be only a matter of time before he moves on to bigger and better things, respectively. But yeah, definitely a great talent in this Wolves team. You've got Hugo Bueno, you've got another Bueno, Santiago Bueno. I'm not sure if they're related, but yeah, both got the same surname. Dawson as your centre back there, and you've got Semedo and the return of Matt Doherty in the Wolves team. So interesting to see that. Pedro Neto seems to regain fitness again. So excited to see how he plays. About 2 years ago, he was one of the most up-and-coming, best up-and-coming wingers in world football at one point. So unfortunately, had a really bad injury. So hopefully he can regain some form going forward. You've got Hwang Hee-chan, who can play on the left, can play up top as well if required. You've got Lamina and João Gomez, good midfield pairing there. You've got Bellegarde and Traore as your backup. Pablo Sarabia, a good player on the left-hand side. You've got Johnny, who can play multiple positions, so another squad player there. And up top, you've got Fabio Silva, who when he first joined Wolves, I thought was just maybe too lightweight for the league, but he's gone on to PSV, really made a name for himself. So he's made his return, and let's see how his season unfolds. You've got Kalajic, who scored a header the other day for Wolves, so a player who was unlucky with injury last year. So expecting him to be on the score sheet more often this season. Then you've got Mateus Cunha, great player, very tricky on the ball. Not an out-and-out striker, but a player that will definitely cause havoc up top with his amazing runs and dribbling ability. So, yeah, an exciting player for Wolves fans there. Then you've got Nathan Fraser, young up-and-coming forward there. So, in terms of squad, numbers, they don't have the biggest squad just like West Ham, but I feel like they should have enough quality to stay in the league. So that's my overview of each squad. I know that's quite a long segment there. So what we'll do now is present my final Premier League table that I think will happen in the season. So here we go. So you're probably thinking, oh, look at that. Liverpool number 1. Liverpool bias again. I'll elaborate and explain why I've gone for Liverpool. But as you can see, I've gone for Liverpool to win the league. I've got Man City 2nd, Arsenal 3rd, and Newcastle 4th, with Manchester United 5th. I don't know if it's for sure, but I think 5th spot could be Champions League football, depending on how I think the season unfolds. Chelsea, I've gone for 6th, Tottenham 7th, Aston Villa 8th, Brighton 9th, West Ham 10th. Then I've gone for Nottingham Forest 11th, Brentford 12th, Bournemouth 13th, Fulham 14th, Crystal Palace 15th, Wolves 16th, Burnley 17th, Everton 18th, Sheffield United 19th, and Luton 20th. So unfortunately, Everton, Sheffield United, and Luton Town are the teams that I believe would get relegated. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Even if you're watching on replay, drop a comment below the video. Let me know what you think. Are you thinking, oh, it's Ozzie being biased again? Why has he got Liverpool up top? So I thought, let me explain in terms of why I've gone for Liverpool to win the league. I'll be honest with you, as I was preparing the notes or in the previous weeks when I was gearing up to this show, I had Liverpool in all kinds of positions. For me, the reason what flipped was the Kevin De Bruyne injury. Him being out, for me, pretty much means he's not available this season. I know he'll play maybe 2 or 3 months, but at the same time, it might take him a while to get into that fitness, that rhythm of playing to his best ability. So I feel like that's pretty much a player out of their squad. And Kevin De Bruyne is one of the best midfielders, that goes without saying, doesn't it? So in terms of explaining why I've gone for Liverpool, so what I thought I'd do is a comparison between the two squads. So comparing the Liverpool squad that I showed you earlier in the show, and also the Man City squad. So I think if you just have a quick overview, like for like, I feel like we matched them in a lot of ways. So I think goalkeeper wise, it's arguable. Who do you prefer? I think it's always a preference thing. Back 4 is pretty much solid for both teams. I think our midfield, there's just 1 or 2 things with our midfield. So with Gravenberch, we haven't seen him play in Liverpool shirt, so we don't know what version of Gravenberch we're going to see this season. I feel like we're going to get the one that's from Ajax. So I'm very hopeful in terms of how he performs this year. Szoboszlai has literally hit the ground running, and there's more to come from that guy. He's going to be a star in the making. So definitely one that will he would definitely let the football do his talking. I'm expecting big things from him this season. Similar impact to when Salah came. That's the kind of levels I'm seeing. Maybe not in terms of goals and numbers, but he will get a lot of goals as well. And up top as well, you've got, I feel like we've probably got the best collection of attackers in the Premier League, but that's just my opinion. So that's a quick overview in terms of the lineups, I guess. But just to even make it more of a further analysis. I've done a player comparison like for like, and basically presented as who's better in my opinion. So blue represents Liverpool, obviously, and red represents Liverpool, and obviously the blue represents Man City in terms of who's a better player. So I've gone for Alisson, who's I think is better than Edison. Robertson as a left back is better than Ake. Tsimikas for me is a better understudy or better backup left back than Sergio Gomez. And then Van Dijk right now is better than Guardiola. Guardiola has the potential to be the best centre back in world football, but right now he doesn't. Likewise, Konate has the potential to be one of the best centre backs in world football for me as well. But Diaz is the better player. Stones is better than Matip, in my opinion, and Akanji is better than Kwanzaa. This one will be debatable. I prefer Trent Alexander-Arnold because I feel like you get more of an output from him. But Walker is obviously a great all-round right back, so that's, I think, a preference thing there. Gomez is better than Rico Lewis, obviously more experienced player. Endo, yeah, we've been coming to Rodri is obviously one of the best defensive mids in world football. McAllister is better than Phillips. Thiago is better than Kovacic. They're both pretty injury prone, so in terms of availability, they'll probably be out for the same amount of games, but Thiago is the better player. So Bosley is better than Matheus Nunes, in my opinion. Kevin De Bruyne, obviously for this argument's sake, is better than Gravenberch, even though he's not available. And then in terms of the numbers, Man City don't have a lot of midfielders, so that's an area that I feel like will be a big part in terms of their season, because if you've got the likes of Phillips and Kovacic getting in there, you've only got Rodri available and you've got Matheus Nunes available and playing in that double pivot role within the team. So they're not blessed with huge numbers. I know Stones can come in and play that defensive midfield role, so that have to be an option. So they'll have to alterate and mix around their team. So for that, because they don't have the right amount of numbers in midfield, that will be one of the key reasons in terms of why I feel like Liverpool might pip City this year. So that's why with Jones and Bashich, I can't do a like-for-like comparison. So that's what I've done as not applicable in that regards. Salah's better than Bernardo. Elliott, yeah. Foden's better than Elliott in that regards. Haaland's better than Nunes. I would say Alvarez, for me, isn't probably the better player than Gakpo. I think Gakpo is the better all-round player. But I feel like Alvarez gets you goals, so he has the better output. So that's why I've gone for Alvarez with that regards. And Diaz is better than Grealish, in my opinion, and Jota is better than Doku. So if you do a like-for-like in terms of the squad, Liverpool have 12 better players to Man City's 8. So that's a player comparison right there. So look, I'm not just playing my, I'm not just speaking my Liverpool. I genuinely believe that Liverpool have a great chance of winning the league. The only thing for Liverpool would be in terms of the squad here. So if we had any injuries in the centre back positions, that's where we might struggle. In terms of midfield, I feel like we have the quality and the numbers to go forward and get over games. And it's the same with the attack as well. So for us, it's just the centre back areas. If we lose one or two, it could be an issue. But it's the same with Man City. If they lose numbers in the centre mid position, it can go either way as well, in my opinion. So they've already lost De Bruyne. If they were to use a Kovacic Phillips isn't available as much, but if they lost Kovacic as well, it's not going to be one where they'll be able to win consistently, in my opinion. They've got the goal scorers, but they'll be leaking goals as well at the same time. But that's just my opinion. So let me know what you guys think in terms of my prediction here. Is it biased? Is it me just going off by recent form? Because Liverpool have been in fantastic form recently. We're getting 10 points out of 12, and 2 games we were down to 10 men. Looks really solid. So am I just, high in the moment right now? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. So before we conclude the show, I always do a prediction for awards. So, I speak highly of him. I think he will be player of the season. Dominic Szoboszlai will be player of the season. I think he's going to have such a great impact this season that he will get the major honor, just like Haaland did last year. Young player of the year, or young player of the season, I should say. For me, would be Gabriel Martinelli. I think this season, I feel like he's going to hit that next level. I feel like he's going to score a lot of goals for Arsenal this season. So I feel like that's the reason why I've given him that award. I believe you have to be under 23, so he fits within that category. Top scorer, I think, will be Haaland. I don't think no one goes near him. He's just an unbelievable goal scorer. Yeah, just a robot in front of goal. So he gets that. I think Trent will be the top playmaker on the basis that he will play as a right back, but also inverted fullback on a number of occasions this year as well, depending on the opposition. So I feel like the numbers will be replicated in terms of how he plays for the team. So, and I've gone for manager of the season is Jurgen Klopp because of my prediction. I'm thinking we're going to win the league. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And in terms of my bold predictions of the season, dark horse is definitely Aston Villa. I feel like they've got such a great all-round squad that they could be a dark horse for the top four. You just never know. I feel like if they manage to keep their players fit, yeah, they will surprise a lot of us. But having said that, they faced Newcastle, they lost to Newcastle. They faced Liverpool, lost to Liverpool. So maybe they're not quite up there yet. But if they're getting points from other teams around them, it's a different ball game. Sign of the season, you guessed it. Dominic Szoboszlai. Flop of the season was a flip of the coin between Kai Havertz and Mason Mount. I've gone for Mason Mount. Originally, I actually had it as Kai Havertz. Today, I changed that on the basis that I don't think Mason Mount will be utilized in his natural position. I think he'll be played in different roles, fitting in when, doesn't really suit his skill set. So playing as a 6 is not his strength. So Kai Havertz as well, I feel like I think he'll have a better impact because he might be played a bit more further up top or play as a number 10. But I feel like there's probably more expectations from neutral fans than actual Arsenal fans, in my opinion. So I feel like he will definitely have some sort of impact in that Arsenal team, whether it's, coming off the bench, scoring a goal. I just feel like with Mason Mount, with all the stuff going around Manchester United right now, it's not a club that's in positive spirits. So I don't expect him to do very well at the club. And then the breakout talent is João Pedro. Do feel there are quite a few players that I had in mind. Alex Scott from Bournemouth as well. But I haven't seen him play as of yet. So I've gone for João Pedro. I feel like whether he's shown for Brighton, I could have done Ansu Fati as well. But yeah, it could have been a number of players, but I've gone for João Pedro. I feel like he'll get a lot more game time. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But that concludes the show for today, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Double D and Football Live for your comments. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate your support as always. Next scheduled show will be this Thursday, as I will be doing a match preview of Wolves versus Liverpool. So back to our normal schedule. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. Follow me on social media at OzzieFTP on Twitter, or you can follow me at Ozzie.ftp on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. So yeah, thank you as always, guys. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all very soon. Goodbye.